Dinner in a box.
Yeah. Tired. Long day.
Yep. Repeat and repeat. That's what it is.
We're on week 2. Week 3 is going to be important. It's going to be make or break. Let's see if we get out of here on week 4.
We'll see.
In 2019, we sold everything to realize our dream of living, working, and cruising full-time on our boat. I'm John, this is Carlin, and this is our home, the Elli-Yacht. We're on the hard.
Yay.
So we're going to put fins in is the goal. However, we don't have any.
No fins.
No fins. The fins left Florida. They were supposed to be here in like 4 or 5 days, and it looks like it's going to be 9 days now.
Mm-hmm.
They made the long route up from Florida to Illinois, and then they're going to be going across the upper Midwest, which has weather storm warning, so who knows if we're going to get these or when we're going to get them, especially since they're with, what's the name of the place?
T-Force.
T-Force. If you haven't heard of them, prepare to be underwhelmed. They bought UPS ground from UPS, and they literally have, I think, 1.5 stars in reviews online.
Not encouraging.
Yeah, but the good news is all they ever do is just lose stuff or damage it. Well, like that's going to be a big deal for us. So we are putting the project on hold because we aren't going to drill any holes in our boat just in case, you know, the worst takes place. Which means we're going to front load a bunch of work that we also had prioritized. So we have everybody, you know, with their.
There's no shortage of projects that we're working on.
That's right. Which means on the bow, the anchor windlass, the cat hole is a weak point on navigators. They didn't seal them very well. In fact, they used 4200, which is not what you seal cord deck with. You sealed cord deck with epoxy, and then you re-drill it. Anyhow, so we're gonna have to see, do we have rot up there? We need to fix the rot. Hopefully we can get that done. Take care of that. Rebed our bow roller, because that needs to be done after a decade. What else? We've got a refrigerator that's going in, and that actually came in. So we're excited about that. It was supposed to be a couple weeks out, and it's here.
Water maker.
Water maker, that's right. Going with the 78 gallon per hour water maker. Reason being is we have a 125 gallon tank, and so we run out of that in about 2-3 days. This thing will top it right back off in an hour and a half, which is how long our genset runs in the morning to recharge our lithium iron phosphate batteries. So it's just, it'll be perfect. We're super excited about that ad. What else? Props. Yes, we're going to get the props turned. When we pulled it out, we found that the port side had a pretty good whack in 2 of the 4 blades. So we're going to get those turned, get that taken care of. Like you said, zincs. What else? And we have some other little surprise ones that we're going to add in as well, just to take care of some things along the way. We found 2 air handlers, Dometic air handlers.
Yes.
That Ranger Tugs had some extra inventory of those during the pandemic.
Stock.
So we got those. It was so cool of John Livingston and Tim O'Neill of thinking of us. So we're going to swap out a couple of those that are older and louder and that run constantly. We'll get that done. Do some nice sound shielding in there. What else? Oh, soft starts. Because we're going to have a water maker that's an insane draw. It's like 55 amp when it has what they call a locked compressor. When it kicks on, right as it starts up, that's a 240 volt water maker, which means you multiply 55 amps by 240 volts, and it's like over 12,000 watts. So we're putting a soft start on that. The soft start will reduce that current draw by 60%. That way we won't overload our inverter, which is it's a 10K inverter. To say that we might overload, that's insane. But because we have air handlers that are 120 volt, and they have also locked compressors. When they turn on, they have a pretty good draw as well. We're going to put soft starts on those, and what they'll do is just reduce that initial startup, the current draw when all those things start up, because we do have a lot of loads on the boat now, and if any of those kicked on at the same time, it would definitely overload the inverter. Oh, one last thing. Carlene came up with a great idea. So one of the other design issues I have with navigators, and there aren't that many, I really like navigators, but they put the GFCI in the galley underneath
the sink, behind the garbage disposal.
Yeah. And the plug for the garbage disposal has to be unplugged, and you have to reset it, and you're doing all of this blind, and then you got to plug it back in, which that's a nightmare in itself. Half of the time you take the ground of the plug and you kick the GFI again, and it's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So Carlene figured out that we can reroute that GFI to be at the end of our island counter.
Yes.
Which is great.
Way easier.
Yeah, so you can just see whether it's kicked and just push that in.
And you can always use a couple more plugins.
That's right. For having a couple more outlets for appliances when we're cooking and using that area is going to work out as well. And I'm sure we'll dream up something else along the way, but that's what we're going to be focusing on while we're waiting for fins to arrive safely.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
With gloves on. All right.
They took all of the zincs off, and they are preparing to take the propellers off, get the shafts ready, and get that all set up.
And Everett Yacht Services doesn't mess around. They pull those off, and into the truck they go. Everett Yacht Services, Kyle and Bruce and the team, we're starting to put stuff back together. It's awesome. So we got our props back, and they're all looking beautiful and balanced. The dings were repaired on the port side. And then we're going to have them put prop speed on these props, which actually stops any barnacle growth, sea life type growth on them. And also supposedly pick up a half a knot speed because they're so much more efficient. I'm not holding my breath on that. We're going to do the shafts as well, put some zincs on, and here's our new refrigerator.
Yay! I'm excited. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, here's the downside. That's solved, so no drama. But this thing, it's a Vitrifrigio, which is the same brand that we had before, but they made it about an inch wider. Both in the back, where we had to modify the back, as well as cut out the outside edge to be able to fit it in. Good Lord. But the cool part is this thing has a drawer in the bottom for the freezer.
Yes.
And an upper refrigerator, right?
Yes, which is nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy that.
Yeah. And it has dual zones, meaning that it isn't a lot of the refrigerators on boats and RVs that are 12 volt and 120 volt, which this one is, so you can run it off your batteries, which is cool. They just have a freezer at the top, and then through convection, it cools the rest of the unit. Which means
it's not very efficient.
Yeah, I think you've seen Carlene having to go through and defrost. You love that part, don't you?
I do. It's very gratifying.
This is Carlene's new plug-in right here.
I love it.
That we talked about earlier.
So does Dan. He's been using it.
Yeah. I think you know it's going to be a good ad because it's definitely getting a lot of action.
Yep.
We put in, this is the display for the water maker. We put it over here because when we run the gen set, even if it's an auto start, all of that activity is going to take in that place. That way we're not running back and forth to different areas in the boat. Our old one, we used to have to, it was a manual one, we'd have to increase the pressure on the compressor so that we'd get up to the level of pressure it needed to make water. This one's automatic, which means when you start it, it'll automatically figure out the salinity of the water and adjust the pressure automatically, which is awesome. And we never have to go in the engine room and do all that. And because we make water so often, it actually is going to be much more convenient. So having that display right there is great. There's a lot of sawing and work that had to go on to get that in, especially since this stupid thing had a serial port that is parallel with the display. Who thought that out? So it had to have a relief in the back cut out. So my multi-tool was working overtime. as we did that. When we install the new water maker, we're going to add this bad boy, and it is a media filter. What the hell is a media filter? Well, media filter helps basically when you're pulling in water, seawater. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in there and growing, and there are like 20 micron filters that filter a lot of that stuff out. Because we have such a high volume water maker, we would be changing those paper filters quite often. With this media filter, what we're able to do is when we start getting back pressure, we basically are able to run water backwards through this and flush it, so we don't have to change any filters, and it's going to make it just much more efficient to go through and keep all of our filters clean. So I'm stoked to have this thing as part of the install. But we have some really good news. What came in?
Fins came in. Yay!
Fins came in. So Dan spent some time past couple days relieving the area in the engine room where they're going to land. So that's done,
Yep.
which is great news. And we'll actually be able to put a hole in the bottom of the boat.
Yep.
You excited about that?
No.
No, well, yeah, I know, I'm a little nervous about that as well, but we'll get that done, and
Start working on that.
yeah, we've got a lot of work to do because we
A lot of
have,
unfinished projects.
yeah, and we've got displays that need to go in, both helms for the
Yep.
the fins.
Been cutting those out.
Oh yeah, we've got to get on that, and then we've got control boxes that need to land, and we have power boxes that need to land, and
It's a lot of little things.
it's a ton. And to be able to get the bedding prepped for the actuators, everything needs to be vessel protect down below in the engine room, which means that Dan can't get in the engine room to do all the electrical. So it's like,
It's a lot.
yeah. So we're going on 2 weeks on the hard, and I have a hunch. Think it's gonna be 3 weeks? You think it's gonna be 4 weeks? How long do you think?
I don't know.
Stay tuned. Find out later.